Erobert das Ziel.
Was that the centering? So you want to optimize your time to kill in Battlefield 1? Well, it's not going to be as easy as you think it will be. Gone are the days of mindlessly tap firing at all distances to secure a kill. Welcome to the days of perfectly timed burst firing. Before I go into how to optimize your time to kill, we need to understand a couple numbers first. Here are the Synthic stats for the 1907 Sweeper. Some of these numbers are familiar, while others are brand new to the franchise. The numbers we'll be discussing in this video are your base spread, this is measured in degrees, your spread accumulated per shot, also measured in degrees, and your spread decrease per second, once again measured in degrees. So what this means for the Sweeper is, the first shot that leaves your barrel will have a deviation of 0.21 degrees. And your second shot will have an added deviation of 1/4 of a degree. And every shot after that will add 1/4 of a degree to your already accumulated deviation. What does this look like in practice? Well, here's an enemy soldier standing 50 meters away. Let's take a shot at him. Our first shot leaves at our base deviation of 0.21 degrees. It looks a little something like this. Our bullet's going to land somewhere inside this black circle. That's very good accuracy. But our enemy soldier isn't dead yet. Let's go ahead and give him a second shot. Our second shot leaves with a deviation of 0.46 degrees. It looks a little something like this. He's definitely not dead yet, so let's give him a couple more follow-up shots. Our third shot leaves at 0.71 degrees of deviation. We're starting to hit him in the arms and neck, and we might miss over his shoulders, but I would still say this is a very viable shot to still take. Our fourth shot has a deviation of 0.96 degrees. Now we're definitely starting to miss shots here, and I would say at this distance it makes way more sense to only use 3-round bursts. So let's say you stop shooting after the third round. Well, now we have to wait for our spread to decrease. As we discussed before, the spread on this gun decreases at 3.75 degrees a second, but that decrease does not start until the gun is ready to fire another round. The Sweeper shoots at 299 RPM, which means it takes about 201 milliseconds before you can fire another round. So 0.71 degrees decreasing at 3.75 degrees a second on top of 201 milliseconds comes out to 390 milliseconds before we can fire a round again at our base spread. Mechanically, that would sound something like this. In this instance, each tone would be a bullet leaving your gun. Let's listen to it again. You can hear the gap in between each burst. This gap is the amount of time it takes for your spread to decrease back down to 0.21. Now if we had only fired 2 shots, we would only have to wait 323 milliseconds. And if we had no choice but to shoot 1 shot, let's say this sucker's way out in the distance, we would only have to wait 257 milliseconds before we can shoot again at our base spread. So what this means is, the more bullets you spam downrange, the longer you're going to have to wait for your spread to reset. So to reiterate, this is what a 3-round burst should sound like. And this is what a 4-round burst should sound like. It's only an 85 millisecond difference, but that 85 milliseconds could be the difference between adding 1/4 of a degree or decreasing 1/4 of a degree from your spread. Moving on to the MP18, the SMGs in this game have a way more interesting spread model. The spread increase per shot is actually much smaller than the medic guns, but there's a first shot multiplier for spread increase, and it's high. In this case, it's ×4. So here we are taking our first shot at our enemy soldier. We have a deviation of 0.3, definitely a chest shot. Now here's our second shot, which is 4 times 0.045 degrees. Now we're still hitting the chest, but this is our maximum deviation where we're not hitting upper arms or lower body shots. Now here's our third shot. We're starting to hit his upper arms here. And here's our fourth, and here's our fifth. Now this is our maximum viable spread for this weapon at this distance. Any more shots after this and we'll be missing our target. So now it's time to give our gun some time to decrease our spread. It decreases at 2.7 degrees a second, and our gun fires around every 109 milliseconds. That gives us a total of 438 milliseconds until we've hit our minimum spread. A 5-round burst with this gun should sound something like this. Now remember, this is assuming you're standing still, aimed on sights, and you have the recoil management of a god. Returning back to the 1907 sweeper, that 3-round burst pattern that I showed you earlier technically isn't the fastest time to kill at that range. A more elegant solution is to burst until you've reached your maximum viable spread, in this case 0.71 degrees, but instead of waiting the full 390 milliseconds for your spread to decrease, you only wait the amount of time it takes for your spread to decrease back to its maximum viable deviation. In this case, it would sound a little something like this. Now I consider this an advanced topic. We're talking about fractions of a second so small that I don't think the average Battlefield player has that type of dexterity or timing. After all, 85 milliseconds is the difference between adding or decreasing your spread. Now this is a lot to manage. We don't have easy mode tap fire one size fits all for any distance anymore. Now you really have to know your weapon, and you have to be able to gauge the distance of each of your engagements. Then you have to know the amount of bullets you can put in one burst at that engagement distance. Then you have to determine, based off of how many bullets you used, how long you have to wait before you can burst again. Waiting too long would increase your time to kill, but being too quick will add your deviation, again increasing your time to kill. It's all about the sweet spot. The skill ceiling for each gun is incredibly high now, which means it takes much longer to master each one of them. But you say the gunplay in this game is too casual.
So far away from that grenade, they're coming to see.
I wasn't gone that long. We were looting before I left.
We have lost objective Charlie.